that 59% of Americans seem to agree. They say our mission in Afghanistan has been fulfilled. They want the president to bring the troops home. Let's talk about it with two of the signers of that letter, Vermont Congressman Peter Welch, the Democrats' chief deputy whip. Excuse me, Congressman, that was a bad slip of the tongue. Congressman John Campbell is a Republican congressman from California. Both signed that letter to the president, as I mentioned earlier. There are a number of points you make in this letter. Let me give you each a chance to make what you think is your best case. Congressman Campbell, let's start with you.
I think if you look at what we went in Afghanistan to do, it was to go after people who attacked us on 9/11, take out al-Qaeda, take out their leadership, and weaken them. If we have accomplished that mission. There is no reason to be there anymore. We were not attacked by a government of Afghanistan. We were attacked by this group. They are still in operation, obviously, but they're in operation all over the world, and we're not going to occupy all of those countries. We need to be vigilant. We need to keep our intelligence and special forces active, but not by putting 100,000 troops on the ground and occupying a country.
All right, Congressman Welch, your thoughts?
Well, I agree with that. And essentially what we've decided in Afghanistan is on a nation-building strategy. It's 100,000 troops, 100,000 contractors, $2 billion a week. And it is against a foe that's dangerous, but decentralized and dispersed. So we have, why do you have a nation-building approach for a decentralized, dispersed threat? What we saw with the success of killing Osama bin Laden was the effectiveness of coordinated and exhaustive intelligence with special forces operations going after a targeted enemy of the United States. We think that makes much more sense in this environment where al-Qaeda and terrorists are not located in a specific place but in various parts of the world.
Obviously, you two have heard from the opposite side, and there are many arguments, including, I have to say, from the president himself. He said that getting one guy, the former head, the late head of al-Qaeda, doesn't end the battle against al-Qaeda. And then there are people like Ambassador John Bolton. He's a Fox News contributor, also a former UN ambassador. Here's what he writes in today's Wall Street Journal. He says, this is exactly the opposite of what we should do, meaning ending the Afghan war. Instead, we should build on the psychological and operational momentum provided by bin Laden's death to pressure the enemy mercilessly. Pakistan will see a substantial withdrawal of U.S. and NATO forces as signaling reduced American influence regionally and globally, and react accordingly. Congressman, would you like to respond to Ambassador Bolton?
Well, see, I disagree with that nation building makes a lot of sense. I mean, if we have the fact that we don't have 100,000 troops or 100,000 contractors, and by the way, with a Karzai government that is a totally corrupt and unreliable partner, I mean, what's the future of that and how sustainable is it? But the alternative, counterterrorism, means you are engaged. You're engaged economically and diplomatically. You're also engaged with a very active intelligence apparatus and special forces operation. So no one's saying, hey, let's back off on the fight against terrorism. We're saying, let's fight it in a way that's effective and sustainable. I mean, what John said is absolutely right. You've got al-Qaeda in various parts of the world. So the idea that we can ignore that and pay this cost is not sustainable.
Congressman Campbell, I guess I should say I have a dog in this fight. I have a son who's entering the officer corps in the U.S. Army. In a year or so, chances are he'd be in Afghanistan if troop levels remain fairly high. Can you tell me, can you tell the families of other forces who've been deployed there that what we've accomplished to this point in Afghanistan is worth it?
We have accomplished the mission we set out to achieve, and that was worth it. We haven't been attacked since 9/11 in Afghanistan and around the world. Our intelligence and our military forces have kept us safe, and they can continue to do that. The question before us is whether 100,000 troops occupying and setting up a new government in Afghanistan is the best way to fight terrorism in the future, when most of the terrorists are not there. They are in various other countries and dispersed somewhere else around the world. And I think that's the question that is before us. To me, Afghanistan feels an awful lot now like Vietnam, where we're in there with supporting a government that has some corruption issues, with countries nearby where our enemies can hide out and then back in and attack us from those countries. And this just doesn't look like it's going to end well the way it's going. So I think what we've done so far has been worth doing, but I don't think it's worth doing the same thing for another 10 years in that country.
Congressman John Campbell, Congressman Peter Welch, two parties, opposite sides of the country, and they agree. Time to get out, they say. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Well, a delay as Iran postpones the trial of two U.S. hikers in prison on charges of spying. Their families haven't